Are you struggling to stuff your amigurumi? It's either overstuffed, understuffed, or it ends up being very bumpy. So keep on watching, because in today's video tutorial, I'm going to show you how to stuff these little guys. If you are new to my channel and you haven't been here before, I am Natasha from Yarn Over with Natasha, and I am a full-time amigurumi pattern designer. And I share tips and tricks on how to improve your amigurumi to make them look photo perfect every time. In today's video tutorial, I'm going to talk about everything about stuffing. When are you stuffing too much? When are you stuffing too little? When should you start stuffing your toys? And how to get your toys firm and nice without being full of bumps, or like I said, being overstuffed. Stuffing is very important when it comes to making amigurumi, because stuffing will literally make or break your toy. Like, it's a big deal. So you need to be able to stuff properly to get the toy to look like this, because if you don't stuff correctly, it's going to ruin the entire toy. It doesn't matter how neat your sewing was, it doesn't matter how well you placed your stitches. If you don't stuff correctly, you're going to end up with a toy that is either stretchy and hard as a rock, or you're going to end up with a toy that is like floppy and just loses its shape completely. So stuffing is important because it shapes your amigurumi at the end of the day. So if amigurumi doesn't have a shape, it's just going to be a blob. So I'm going to share a couple of tips and tricks today with you on stuffing and how to stuff these little guys properly. But before we get into that, I just want to quickly share with you guys, I have brought out a brand new ebook. It is now available on my website and on Etsy, and you can get it there. The book is all about amigurumi tips and tricks. It has 26 pages of tips and tricks that I share on how to make these little guys. And I also include these 4 patterns in my book. So you get 26 pages of tips and tricks of making amigurumi, as well as 4 patterns that you can try out using your new tips and tricks that you have learned. So to stuff my amigurumi, I use polyfill. I live in South Africa, so I order these bags from Bibi's Wool Center. But you can get bags like these or boxes that says polyfill. It's blue and red boxes. If you're overseas, you can get them at Amazon, or you can get them on eBay, or your local craft stores like Michael, Joann's. They usually keep them as well. And here in South Africa, most of our craft stores keep these polyfill stuffings, like Happy and Lace and Fabrica, and like I mentioned, Bibi's Wool Center, and like most of them keep this polyfill stuffing. It is the ones that you put into a sofa as well, a cushion. As you can see, it's very fluffy and loose, and it has like these little pieces of cotton that is connected to each other. It's very light, it's very fluffy. So I use this for my amigurumi. If you don't have this and you are looking to make amigurumi, but you can't find any of this nearby in the store and you don't want to order online, you can use the inside of a pillow. I've used it before, it works perfectly fine. It's usually a little bit more stiffer and more dense than this one, but it works fine as well. So stuffing your amigurumi, the first thing that you want to do, the first tip that I can give you is that the opening of your piece that you're working on should be as small as possible. The smaller the opening is, the better you will stuff, so that you can keep the stuffing inside and shape your amigurumi better as well. So I would recommend you start stuffing at 24 stitches or 18 stitches, depending on the size of your piece. If it's a longer piece, a bigger piece, I would recommend starting when you have like 30 stitches on your round, or 24 stitches, so it's just a little bit wider to get your hand in properly to start stuffing from the bottom. But if you have a smaller piece like this, 24 stitches or 18 stitches is perfect, and then you can start stuffing your amigurumi. So first thing you want to do is you want to start breaking up your stuffing a little bit. This isn't such a dense stuffing, so it's not needed to break it up as much. But if you're using a denser stuffing that is like one cotton piece and not these little tiny little pieces of cotton, I would recommend that you fluff it enough so you can just stuff it more easily. So when you start to stuff, you want to start stuffing at the bottom of your work. So you're going to take a small amount of stuffing at a time, and you're going to push it into the piece that you're working on. And you're going to start with your fingers, you're going to push it to the sides, and you're going to make sure that the stuffing is in this section of the head first. So you want to start from the bottom up. I'm using small little pieces of stuffing, and as you stuff it, you're going to push it to the sides. So you want to cover this piece of your work first, and once you start filling it up even more, you want to start pushing it with your fingers. You want to start pushing it to the sides like this, so that you can stuff around these sections. To make sure that you're not understuffing, you want to squish your work between your fingers. And if you are pushing your work between your fingers like this, and it kind of you can see it stays at shape. If it's round, you just round it out. And you squish it between your fingers and you let go. You can actually see that it's now elongated. It's not round anymore. You can see the sides are flattened. So that means you haven't stuffed enough, because when you press it between your fingers and you let go and it stays that square shape, it means that you haven't stuffed enough. You also don't want to overstuff your work. So when you squeeze it and you can't really squeeze it in, that is one sign that you've overstuffed your work. Another sign is when you look at your stitches, when you have to start decreasing, you will see that your stitches are stretched very wide. And if you do the decrease in the decrease section of closing this, you will see that your decrease stitches will widen, stretch, and you will actually see these little gaps here and the stretch very wide, and it's going to make it look unneat when you start decreasing. When you have a section of your amigurumi that you need to close the entire top, so it's going to be a round little ball, amigurumi firmly, but not too tight. You want to go on to the next round and you want to decrease it. So you're going to decrease for the next round. And every time that you decrease a round, you're going to stuff a little bit more. Till the end with your amigurumi, it's just going to have a neater finish, and your stitches aren't going to be stretched out at the end because you've stuffed too much in the beginning, and then you end up with stretch out decreased stitches when you finish off your round. So I've decreased one round, and then you take a little bit more stuffing and you put a little bit more stuffing into your amigurumi. Put a little bit more stuffing into your piece. And then you can take another round. Then you decrease again. Once you have finished decreasing that round, you can just add a little bit more stuffing and you continue stuffing until your piece is firm. You can squeeze it in, but it still keeps its shape when you let go. So every time you decrease a round, you stuff a little bit, and once you have finished and you're closing up your amigurumi, just before you close it up, just go over the amigurumi piece and just feel where you can feel that there's a little bit of an indent. Here I can feel there's a little bit of an indent. Then I will add a little bit more stuffing in that side and just fill it up until I don't feel any more indents. I can feel like you can see there is one. So I will take a little bit more stuffing and I will push that inside as well. And every time you just feel around your piece, you shape it a little bit between your hands. You need to shape it a little bit to make sure that it's nice and round and it doesn't have any indents or a little bit of a soft spot. You will feel like it has like a kind of a little soft spot, and then you just continue filling it up until the entire piece is full and firmed. That is it for today's video tutorial on how to stuff your amigurumi. I hope these tips was helpful and if you learned something new. If you do enjoy these videos, you can like and subscribe to my YouTube channel down below. And every week I bring out a brand new video of a tip and trick for making amigurumi. So in next week's video, we will talk about sewing, the thing everybody hates doing. So I'm going to share some tips and tricks with you guys on how to sew easily and how to get them symmetrical and how to look at your piece and actually count stitches and see where the rows are so that you can properly attach limbs in the same space and have them symmetrical on both sides, and ears and a nose, and how to use the whip stitch to sew on pieces. So if you are struggling with sewing and you keep on getting arms and legs that are not symmetrical and you're struggling to sew on ears and muzzles, then you need to subscribe and to find out for next week's video on how to sew.